welcome to the community briefing.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
You were behind the scenes in the green room.
Yeah. And it was like a show, so it was great.
Don't produce this one.
We wanted you to feel quite at home. Okay, Greg, it's on you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to a few of you. Welcome to today's community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed, and today is the 30th of November in the year 2023. So it's the end of November. So this is a great time to buy a car, end of the month, and if you're looking to buy something and people have goals that they have to hit for the end of the month, this is the time to do it. And we're getting close to the year end, so people have year end goals. So we are now at the end of the 11th. So you should be, in theory, 11th, 12th through your annual goal. And if not, December can make it up. I'm hoping everybody has a wonderful December and countdown to the holiday season. So Christmas and New Year's are right around the corner. Anyway, so my name is Gregory Sneed. I have a company, Lifesaver Financial Services. I'm a financial coach. I teach financial literacy training, and I also help clients with retirement savings and income distribution. So now, it's my pleasure to bring to the virtual stage the queen of our community briefing, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Welcome, everyone. Glad you are here. Hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving, especially after Larry Keener just messed up everybody's eating. I was so conscious of turkey, and so I ate everything out the garden. I know what happened out there. I don't know what the heck happened in the store. So, but I knew what I had grown. So it was a fantastic one. So I hope you all had that as well. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Crystal Mitchell. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars and Inspiration behind the community briefing. We have a phenomenal team here. This platform was inspired during the pandemic as being the resource and the source for you to get all the information you needed on how to survive during the pandemic. And then the community briefing survived after the pandemic. So now it's the central source of where we come together as people, Black people, so that we can hear what's really happening from the leaders and stakeholders that are sitting at tables making decisions on our behalf. And now you can make them accountable and at least be able to have a touch point to get to them if things go awry. So we want to welcome you all. This platform is powered by Recycling Black Dollars and the BBA, the Black Business Association. We are also monetarily sponsored by Southern California Edison, Wells Fargo Bank, PCR, and SoCal Gas, and Los Angeles LDC. So we want to welcome you. Greg has already introduced himself. Our other team is Robin Billups. She's amazing in her space. And Mr. Stephen Turner, we could not live without him because he goes out and reaches out and does all the producing. So thank you, Stephen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Robin so she can introduce herself. And then Stephen will come in on the backside of us.
Good day, everyone. Glad to be here. As Greg said, we're down to the end of the year, so that we need to really start focusing on our 2024 activities. And I'm Robin Billups with the Billups Group. I coach, assess, and help individuals get to their strategic plan or finalize a strategic plan so that their business plan can live. I also work with corporations who are interested in correcting their compliance issues around diversity and inclusion. But, you guys know me, I wasn't here last week, but again, I'm on this vote thing. So there's three articles that were in the paper this week. One, there's a great article in the LA Times yesterday about the myths of Social Security. Folks need to take a look at that. It debunks all of the myths of Social Security. Secondly, last week, the Britons approved a gene therapy for sickle cell disease. And I don't know if anyone got a chance to see that article, but I'm so excited about that because sickle cell is so prevalent in our community, and there has not been any real research to help people to improve their lives. And then finally, this is the one. We're back to this vote thing again. Our vote does count. Trump advisor is making corporate America rethink diversity hiring. We are in big trouble, guys, if we don't pay attention to this and if we don't get on top of this. I'm going to copy this article and add it to my LinkedIn profile and ask people to comment on it. But literally, this group funded by Stephen Miller is among those attacking the policies at a variety of companies. And what the article states is, folks who had committed to diversity and inclusion early on, they're not worried about the lawsuits, but others that were recently just joining after the George Floyd situation, murder, those individuals are dispelling and getting rid of their supplier diversity programs, their diversity and inclusion programs. And certainly we all know they've actually hit college admissions. So again, this is what's affecting our community every day, and we have to stay on top of this stuff. And I think the community briefing is the right place to bring it to the forefront. Thanks again. I look forward to our presenter today.
All right. Stephen, you coming back on later? Okay. All right. Mr. Gregory is back at you, welcoming our guests.
All right, all right. So our guest today is Miss Andrea Lewis, and she is on screen there, looking beautiful smile and very ready and vibrant, ready to give us some great information. So let me tell you a bit about her. She is an actress, producer, known for Degrassi, The Next Generation, and Black actress in 2013, and Cadet Kelly. Her artistic talents, let's see, I had this in a larger format to read here. Her artistic talents emerged at age 5. And even before she celebrated her 16th birthday, this Toronto-born entertainer had already acted alongside Hollywood heavyweights such as Diahann Carroll in the Natalie Cole Story, Wesley Snipes, Dr. Maya Angelou in her directorial debut, the critically acclaimed Down in the Delta. After wrapping up the Disney movie Cadet Kelly, alongside with Hilary Duff, soon spent 6 seasons on the hit show Degrassi, The Next Generation, and became known around the world as Hazel, as millions of North Americans tuned in each week to watch her in the award-winning drama, which is ranked #1 in Canada, and the U.S., and has garnered international attention, which has landed her in the pages of Teen People, the New York Times, Entertainment Weekly magazines. And after that, she went on to leading roles in The Moccasin Flats on Showtime and as Melissa, and then starred in the Nickelodeon comedy movie Spectacular as Robin, and also as Dinah, in the original BET movie A Very Larry Christmas, and taking her career to another level. And she started Jungle Wild Productions. I'm sure she can be telling us about that, where she created her web series Black Actress, written and starring Lewis, and starring her, and the fan favorite relationship drama Beyond Complicated. Both seasons can be watched. She was born in Pickering, Ontario, which, if I recall, that's a suburb of Toronto, and that's like the United Nations of Canada. There's a lot of different people. I was in Toronto one time, and I was there I just happened to be on business, and I was there during Caravana.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I had no idea, because I'm originally from Brooklyn, so there were a lot of Jamaicans and Caribbean people in Brooklyn. But I was surprised how many people from the Caribbean were in Toronto, Canada. I didn't think that anything would be that, being cold up there, it would be that many people from the islands. So I've been there a few times, and so that's a wonderful thing. So, without further delay, it's my pleasure to bring to our virtual stage Miss Andrea Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I didn't realize you had my full bio. So, but that's okay. That's how that goes. So yeah, as you had stated, I've been in the entertainment business since I was a toddler. I was really fortunate that my mom was stopped by a casting director when I was like a year old in Toronto. And she didn't know anybody that was doing this, but she took this woman's card, and then the next year gave her a call, and then kind of the rest is history. I was fortunate that I started just doing print and commercials, and then I just kind of liked it. It's one of those scenarios in my life that's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was I always going to be doing this stuff, or was it being because I was placed in it early that I like this. Who knows? But I continued on, and I'm most known for playing Hazel on Degrassi, where I was on the show for 6 seasons. But then once my character graduated in real life from school and also on the show, I decided that I wanted to keep in this business. And the only way that I knew how to keep in entertainment, especially as a Black actress, was that you had to create your own work and you had to create your own opportunities. And so I started my production company. I was living in Brooklyn at the time when I started my production company. I was living in Bed-Stuy, and Brooklyn just inspired me. It inspired me like on every level. And I just knew that this was the timing for me to create stories and figure out what that looked like for me, and started my production company. I started doing web series, because web series at this time, this was 2012, 2000 to 2015. This was an era when web content was very popular. And for Black filmmakers in particular, who weren't able to get green lights from the studios, from people, you know, believing in our stories and just kind of like normal stories of Black people, web seemed to be the outlet that was easier for us to make stuff. And mind you, I say easy, like, which is relative. It was still very hard to get it made. It just was, you got to green light it. You didn't have to convince anybody anymore that the story was relevant or that we had an audience who really cared. And so that was kind of how I kind of got my foot into the producing door. And also while I was living in Brooklyn, I was very inspired by the beauty that I got to see on a regular basis of Black women, the diversity of it all. As I said, I grew up in Toronto, and Toronto's predominantly West Indian community here. So I got to see a lot of the West Indies, but when I was living in Brooklyn, I felt like I just got to see something else, a little bit more of a variety, in the sense of I saw women that just had every style of fashion and every style of beauty. And the way I felt about beauty and the way that I was being presented to it, it just felt like a story that needed to be told. So it was Brooklyn that kind of inspired that. And then I kind of kept this story in my head for years and years. And of recently, my latest project is The Black Beauty Effect, which is on Netflix right now. It's a 3-part docuseries on skincare, makeup, and hair, and the game changers of Black beauty. It is the women and the men that were doing the work in between. When we were feeling like nobody was paying us any attention, there was still people creating products, and there was still editors trying to get our stories together, and there was still models trying to figure it out. And so I wanted a celebratory story about Blackness and about Black beauty, and that's what I was able to do. And as I said, it's a 3-part docuseries that is currently on Netflix. And if you guys want, I can show the trailer. Am I able to share the screen?
Why, certainly.
Okay, let me do that. Share my screen. Great. You guys can see it?
Did you click the do sound first before you did the share?
I haven't. So tell me how to do that.
So stop the share.
Share.
Go back, and then when you screen share at the lower left, there's going to be a little box that says share audio. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Thank you. I actually did not know that.
Full of Zoom expertise today, huh?
The Black Beauty Effect is this intangible thing that Black women have.
We truly are the tastemakers.
Shaping beauty standards, changing the culture of what beauty looks like.
Everybody wants to be just like us, but nobody can duplicate us.
We innovate, we collaborate, we imagine things that don't exist, and create magic, honestly.
Makeup is a language that we use to express how we feel about ourselves.
2014, now you have all these people uploading tutorials. People are learning how to do it themselves.
This birth of a different type of artist, giving you a review on the products that they love and teaching you on how to use it.
I realized very early that the game was changing. And I realized very early that it was very smart.
Skincare is huge right now.
Of all the dermatologists here in the United States, only 3.1% are African American.
Black women are more worried about their skincare regimen than the makeup that they're putting on.
I've raised at this point $5 million, youngest Black woman to ever do so.
When we say Black girl magic, I think the magic is in our hair, to be honest.
Early to mid 2000s, a critical mass of Black women stopped chemically relaxing their hair.
Those products were moving like hotcakes because Black women love talking about our hair.
Who we are is allowed to be included in this dialogue.
It's what's happening right now. It's like the revolution of beauty and seeing our faces everywhere. The Black beauty effect is a movement.
Now it's time to tell our story. Thank you. I want to show you guys too one more clip that I just think explains our series in a nutshell that I just really like and this kind of
What do you think about the term Black don't crack?
Oh my God. Y'all better stop saying that because Black does crack and you need to wear SPF.
I think it's true. I mean, I think most Black doesn't crack. I think
it's a cute notion, and I think it makes us feel good.
Most of us look a lot younger than we actually are.
I'm actually 87 years old. So I hear Black don't crack all the time, and it's not true.
It doesn't crack, love, but it can sag.
Sometimes I feel like it takes away from like the fact that we still gotta take care of our skin.
Our skin doesn't show age in the same way.
It makes me smile because I don't know why. It just feels like we have an upper hand on other people. I don't know why.
It's starting to feel like the excuse for why you don't need something better. You don't show age, so stop worrying about it. You're good enough as it is. Well, no, maybe I don't want to be good enough. Maybe I want to be fabulous. How about that?
I love the fact that we revere age and aging in the way that we do. We kind of embrace it, and I just know I'm getting better with time. Period.
What do you think about the term Black don't crack?
Sorry.
Oh my God.
All right, I will stop share. So that is the series. As I said, it's a 3-part series, one on skincare, one on makeup, and one on hair. And we talk about everything from the history of these terms and these things that we know in our community to the people that were doing the work to where we are today and why this is such an important space for us culturally across the world, why beauty matters and why us taking control of the narrative of what our beauty actually is and looks like is so important. And I think for so long when it came to the beauty space, it was from a lens of a white perspective, a white point of view, and we were just hoping to survive and try to fit into these spaces. And when you think about the way Black beauty has evolved, especially in America, and now it's completely different. And I just wanted something, like I said, that was celebratory. And the funny thing was when we were pitching this series, so often people did not understand why this mattered or why somebody would want to see something like this. They kept asking us for the hook or like, where's the drama or where's the kind of the bad thing that happens? And we were like, there is no bad thing here. This is a story that shows that we can dominate these spaces and we can grow and we can thrive, and these things matter. And the same way that we need to see stories with heroes, so do Black women when it comes to our beauty. And so that's what Black Beauty Effect has been for me. And we are on this journey currently, still promoting it. And Renee knows, she got to kind of come to the premiere that we had in LA. And yeah, and it's been just an amazing experience so far. So yeah, that's the story of it.
Awesome. There was some pretty women in there. Can we see that video again? No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. So what's on the horizon? I mean, what's happening for you now? Tell us about some of the projects that are coming up for you, you know, in the coming months.
Well, like I said, so I do producing, I do acting. As an actress, I have a Christmas movie coming to OWN on December 23rd called Christmas Revisited. You can watch it on the OWN channel or on HBO Max, whichever one you have. And it's a cute little Christmas film. So if you like Christmas films, I think you will like it. I've also got a guest spot on a series called How to Die Alone that's coming to Hulu and ABC in the new year. And then we're working on the follow-up for Black Beauty Effect, which is going to focus all on fashion and the Black fashion effect, what we've been able to do as Black people for style and design, and just what fashion has meant to us culturally and globally, and our impact on that. So those are some of the things that I'm currently got going in this next, like, I'm guessing I'm basically thinking about my Q1 already. And so this is the things I'm working on for my Q1. So yeah.
Now, that's an interesting title, How to Die Alone. Tell us more about that. What's that about?
How to Die Alone is a crazy series. It is a comedy series that stars a really talented actress named Natasha Rothwell. Most people would know her from Insecure. And I wish I could give you a full description, because they were so secretive on what the series really is that they only allowed me to see the scripts that I was in. So my scenes all take place in an airport. I thought that was just my scenes, but apparently the show may take place in an airport. But it's essentially about a woman who is really struggling in relationships and making a lot of really bad decisions along the way. And so like I said, they're very secretive, and my scenes were very kooky and very crazy, but very fun. But it's coming out in the new year. I actually can't wait to see what the whole thing is going to look like, because we shot in what looked like an airport. It's not an airport, it was a studio. And I realized in being on set that every person that's in the show is in the airport. And so, but I didn't know that prior, but yeah.
So Andrea, question. If my little god niece just, she's gonna play Mae Jemison. I have a friend named Nate Jemison. She's going to play Mae Jemison, and they did a little trailer, and they won some kind of film award. So I think it's going to go to a long way. So can you kind of just give us an idea? How do you pitch? How do you get something in the queue? You know, how do you do that?
So I'll say this. So like, and just kind of using this as an example, this is something she's made on her own, this project, or she was cast in it?
She was casted. She was cast in it.
And so they're trying to get it in a bigger space.
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, typically it's kind of like, how do you bring an idea to life? I say to people all the time, when you start with something, in my producing process, I think of ideas a lot, and it's like, the start of it is like, can I write it down in a way that it's understandable? Then if it's not, because sometimes it's not, can I film it? And what does the filming process look like for me? As in, do I need a sizzle for this thing when it comes to the pitch of it? Do I need one scene when it comes to the pitch of it? When it came to the process for Black Beauty Effect, for instance, like I said, I had this idea in my head for a long time. And when I would tell people, some people would get it and some people would not necessarily see the relevance of it. And I was kind of running into a brick wall, and I had to create a sizzle reel of it. And so I used my own money, and I just reached out to the influencers that I know. I reached out to the beauty girls that I knew, the editors, just people that I was already kind of in connection with via the internet. And just simply asked them if I could film them at my apartment. And I just kind of did an interview with them about like what I saw this business to be, how I knew that brands get built, and how I knew how much money influencers are able to make. Just kind of the juicier parts is what I'll say of what this industry can be, the beauty industry. Putting together that sizzle really helped to set my pitch in place, because now people understood what it was that I was talking about and the relevancy. Because before talking about it, even reading about it in our pitch deck, and a pitch deck is something that kind of states all of the obvious. It states what you're making, why you're making it, who's involved, what you would compare it to, if there is any shows or movies or documentaries or anything that is out in the world already that you would say it's a mix of this and that. I always tell people it shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 options in that way. But even if your thing is completely different, that's just the world we live in. People want to hear it's, you know, Martin meets A Different World. Like they just want to hear that. Like they want to hear a comparison to something, and they're able to put it into their head a little bit easier. So we did that with Black Beauty Effect, kind of pointing out other documentaries on Black subject matter that was important, or on niche subject matter because people were treating it that way, creating the sizzle. And then the most important thing for me was we attached a woman named Jackie Aina. Jackie Aina is one of the leading Black beauty influencers. She's easily the biggest in the US, and then globally also has very big impact. And so before we had a network involved, before we had any funding, we pitched to somebody that we knew was relevant to the space, that we knew could come on and could legitimize our story. And that, all of those kinds of things are like the package. But I usually inform people like the process of that varies, because ultimately you're wanting somebody to believe in your idea. And you may be able to tell it to one person and they get it off the bat. Or you may have to do all of these steps. You may have to create a sizzle and then get somebody with certain clout to be attached, but it's a journey. So you kind of have to know, like, sure, there's about 5 steps that I might have to do, but let me take my time on every single one and see which ones are actually relevant to what it is that I'm making. And those steps, though, they never change. I spoke to a producer yesterday about a project, a reality game show that I'm working on. And everything he said was exactly what I just mentioned. He was kind of like, okay, I think we're going to need this, and I think we're going to need this, and I think we're going to need that. And we already have a pitch deck. We already have some talent attached. And he under his experience is kind of like, I think we're going to need one step further. We're going to need somebody who's really relevant to this space, who's even bigger than everything that we have attached already. And so that's kind of how you kind of get things off the ground, per se, is there's a variety of ways, but they all need essentially the thing you are doing is just getting the person to understand your story in the best way possible. And so that's why I always say, I'm like, I start with the idea in my head, but it's kind of like your friend telling you a long-winded story. And you could have in the end been like, oh, so basically you just needed to go down to the store. Like you could have given it to them in one sentence. I'm like, that's how you need to get your that's how you need to get your idea. Your idea needs to get to a place where you don't have to set it up, where you need to just be able to say, boom, boom, boom. And then people are like, oh, okay, wait, I can picture that. Or I can't picture that. Cool. That's okay. We move on from those people and we go to the next. You don't have to convince the person that says they don't get it. Like we just kind of keep going.
But
So,
isn't that though, when you were talking about that, it just reminded me of helping people understand, the procurement process. It's just about anything where you're talking about business.
Yes.
You need to narrow it down and hit the nail on the head versus going a long way around, because you're going to lose their interest, or, they're going to get bored or what have you. Now,
yes.
How did you decide to get into the production side versus the acting piece?
Well, I always knew, to be honest. I think the privilege of growing up as a child actor for me was just being in an on-set environment from a young age and recognizing that I really liked it, that these unpredictable spaces, these very creative spaces, is just, I felt comfortable in them. I felt like I really thrived in those spaces. And I had read an article maybe when I was like 13 on Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon needed to start her own production company, or she did rather, and was trying to kind of put a lot of her projects through it. And I won't lie to you, I thought at that time, I was kind of like, wow, this is not just a white woman. This is kind of like stereotypical all-American in the sense of like where she fits on the food pole in terms of how she would be cast, right? Like she's blonde, like this is somebody who has a way easier time than me in terms of people presenting her with ideas and projects. And if she's feeling like she needs to start a production company in order to get her ideas off the ground, there is no way that I'm not going to have to do something of the same. And so, yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my thinking about it. And then truthfully as well, like the people with the power, the people that give you the money, they're not always the most creative people. And they have a very limited point of view on our stories, on the stories of Black women, on even just your own talent and ability, what you're capable of doing. And so it made me just like, that kind of was just stuck in me of like, I need to do something more. Then I filmed this, a movie for Nickelodeon, and I kept experiencing on this set, like a lot of microaggressions. Like just too many. And I was just like, okay, And I came out of it and I was like, all right, it's time for me to create. It's time for me to make at this point, because I don't want to be like at the mercy of these kinds of environments that I have to book this. I have to be here. Like I have to. I'm like, no, I want to be able to control my set environment. I want to be able to hire people that look like me. I want to be able to do my own work. And at the time when I just started kind of making content on YouTube. My agents treated it like as if it was like my wild college years. They like did not know what I was doing. They were like, I don't know why this matters to you at all, but okay. And then literally the shift happened with social media, with YouTube, with everything that we were doing. And now all the meetings that people were asking me to take was because I had a social media presence, was because I actually started to use the internet for what it was for and create and put stories out there and do this kind of work. And so I always tell people, I'm like, you cannot rely on the middlemen. You have to find a way to kind of cut that person out and just go directly to the source. And so what does that look like for you? If acting is really what you want to do, but you're frustrated because you're not getting auditions, you're not getting this, you need to connect with writers. You need to connect with directors. You need to connect with producers. That doesn't require an agent. That requires hustle. That requires you to put yourself out there. That requires networking. And so thinking about your career in that way versus just waiting. I couldn't wait. So yeah.
What professional organizations do you belong to, and how do they support the efforts that you're putting out?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I guess technically, I guess as an entertainer, I'm a part of a lot of unions. I'm a part of SAG. I'm a part of ACTRA in Canada. I'm working on being a part of the WGA. I'm a part of Equity. And so these are my professional organizations. These organizations, though, they support us as best as they can. But I think when you're kind of like me, a solopreneur, an independent creative, a lot of the work that you do is relationship based. So I can also say this in the sense of like, I have a great support system with Comcast, Xfinity. They were the first people to give us the funding for Black Beauty Effect and believe in championing Black filmmakers. So that's a company that I'd be like, they support me. They really do. The work that I do, though, I think it varies in the sense of being a creative and an entertainer. I think a lot of people would truthfully be a little stumped on that question because our work is so heavily relying on relationships and ideas and pitching. And so you don't get to have just like one support system. You kind of have to person to person to person.
But I think that to your point, I think that's in any industry, really. You need to know, the professional organizations, but you also need to create your own village, your own network of individuals who get you. You don't have to go in every time reintroducing yourself every time you come to the table with something. At least you've gotten vetted that this is a professional, that type of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. The work starts to speak for itself. So after a while, when you I had a really amazing moment like this year, actually. I was speaking at an event called Leading Women Defined. It's put on by Deborah Lee, who used to run BET. And it's this amazing event. And it's all women of all ages, all Black women who are all in these different professional spaces. And while I was there, I was speaking and the person was interviewing me about my journey, but I was able to also point to many women in that room who helped me in my journey and say like, oh, well, yeah, I got that shot because this person who's right here, who, founded ABFF, and this woman over here who was a part of L'Oreal, like I was able to do that. And so in that way, like you said, it was a real like aha for me in terms of network and in terms of like the people that start to support you. And yeah, if I didn't kind of put myself out there, I would never have met these women who I really do look to as my village.
So from an academic standpoint, what would you say to a young professional now who's trying to break, or just a professional period? Because, seniors need to work too. That's the field that you really want to be in. But what would you say? Yeah, what would you say from an academic standpoint? What were the classes and or kids and, or, you know, anything of that nature.
In the professional side of things, you know what I think it is? I always think people underestimate the marketing of it, understanding marketing, and understanding the marketing, even of just like the marketing for even a business and how it can apply to you as an individual. And I find so often that I've thought about this recently, that so many people are like chasing the algorithm and chasing all these things, and they're forgetting just like marketing. Just like go back to the basics of like go take a marketing class, go work with a PR company, go and like, but not from like, oh, I'm building up a star, but like I have to build Coca-Cola. I have to build a car company and a brand, and what that looks like and what the messaging of that looks like versus is this a star and are they on the right carpet, you know? And then what surprises me constantly is, you know, like I have an entertainment lawyer that I love and I think she's amazing. And I go to her for so many things that I don't understand. Anything I don't understand, I ask her. And so often I find creatives in my space don't have lawyers or don't have even people who have some kind of law background that can just simply read the jargon for them. And they often treat it like as if they need some kind of big job to be able to do this. And what ends up happening is those little gigs that they're doing end up kind of a mess, or they end up a little bit screwed, or they wish they looked at this properly, or they didn't sign an agreement at all. And now they're doing a lot of handshake business. And I often tell people, I'm like, it's okay to like look at yourself as like a business. Go take some business 101. Go just the basics of business. And treat yourself in that exact same way, because the work you are doing requires it. Not everything is just like just a check in hand. It's like, you know, go get an S Corp. And if you don't really know what these things are, these are the programs that you should be looking into and treat. I think I often try to explain, it's like you have to kind of see yourself a little bigger than what you are doing, even if it just feels like, I have no idea how all of this is going to come together, but you know, in the end, it's going to come together. I had a meeting just before the holidays really broke at Heartbeat Productions, which is Kevin Hart's production company. And I was so inspired because it was this beautiful company. It was massive and all these employees and everybody's happy and, you know, but at the end of the day, it was a man who was doing the same work that any of the creatives I know are doing. He does events, he does movies, he does shows. He wants to just get his ideas out into the world. But his success comes in the fact that he treated it like a business and not just like somebody who needs you to just give them an opportunity. And the smartest thing he was able to do is surround himself with people who know more than he does, and can teach him along the way. And so I think a lot of the times what's kind of missing from people on the academic side that are in the creative space like me is they're not thinking that these tools are relevant to them, and they are. And it's, you know, if you took a semester to just be like, I'm just going to get this business course, or I'm just going to do this marketing thing, or I'm just going to get some understanding of entertainment law, it really helps in the long run, I find.
Good stuff. Crystal.
Hi, Adrian. How are you? Awesome stuff. I have a nephew that's sitting and listening. He just graduated from SCAD in film and directing.
Yay.
And so, yay. So I'm so excited for him. He had a phenomenal experience there. And so he's just came out of school, so he needs to get in. So internships and things like that. Do you have any advice? And Travis, you're listening, I know, right? Take notes, my nephew.
Yeah, you know what? Best advice. If you want to get in, okay, it's all relationships, right? It's all network. We know this. It's like all the village. Go to IMDb Pro. There's IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. It's free, that site. But the Pro site, you got to pay for. The Pro site, however, has all the contacts of all the people. And you look up your favorite shows, you look up just things you really like. Look for the showrunner, look for the line producer, look for the production manager, look for those people in the crew list, email them, say, hey, I really love this show. I'm new. I want to just get some experience. If you have any space for a PA, if you have any space for an assistant, I would just love to submit my stuff. Let that be. But just do that, like do the research is often what I think. Like, so yes, create all of those kinds of things. A lot of times the young filmmakers I meet that come out of film school, they want to like just get into set right away. They just want to make something right away. But making is amazing, but we have to be making with a goal. We have to be making and knowing that like we're going to get it in the right hands and to see with the right people. And so you kind of have to be firing, to me, at all cylinders have to be firing at the same time. So we have to be building our network while also creating, so that when we do get to our network and those people are giving us a shot, now we actually do have something to present. You know, I'm not just a really great PA. Actually, I'm a director. I actually have this thing I want to show you, even if it's 2 minutes. But it's something that I have. And so often people are intimidated by the research, which is why I say IMDb Pro has been around for a million years. And when I was like 20 years old, I just used to look up names of like everything. And you could see things that are in production. You could see if somebody's in pre-production for a book, and go read that book and just go, you know, immerse yourself into this world. So that way, when you do talk to this producer, you're like, hey, I'm a fan. I have something in common with you. And so I think those kinds of tiny steps are steps that people are often not taking in terms of just trying to get people on their side. And no, especially in the film industry, it is a hierarchy industry. You really do have to like pull yourself up, like you have to build. And so no matter how talented you are, you're going to have to build. and what does that look like for you? And how can you kind of do that? And so making sure that you do have that kind of respect and reaching out to the people that you want to work with, not in an aggressive way, like, hey, can you give me a job? But just putting myself to you, just letting you know. I can't tell you how many people I have hired or worked with because they just continue to send me an email. Like they just kept sending me an email with their resume. They just kept updating me like, hey, letting you know, I recently worked on this thing. Here's a link to it. I recently got to do this thing. And so you're getting to see not only that they're serious, but that when they say they want to work with you, they mean it. This is why they keep kind of sending something to you. And that goes a long way, so that it doesn't feel like this person just kind of using you and just trying to get ahead, but like, no, they want to be a part of what you're building. Because all filmmakers, all creatives, all producers, we're building something at the end of the day. And so it's like, how do I present in a way to tell them like, I want to be a part of what you're building? So that would be my trick. IMDb Pro, that's where I'd start.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he did a couple of music videos while he was in school, and he directed, and he also did his senior project on a project that his whole family invested in. So we're executive producers. And so he learned all of the pieces to it, but he's really excited. So thank you so much. So Travis, I hope you were taking notes, and you gave us a great idea for Christmas, a Christmas gift from the aunt. Greg, back to you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Renee.
Greg.
Go ahead.
Go on, Renee. We can hear you.
I got my mute off. Anyway, I think what you presented today not only addressed Roz's concerns and Crystal's concerns, but I think you have just presented a whole layout for people that are interested in this industry. And I'm thinking, can we broadcast what you've said today to these young people, and Crystal knows them all, that are interested in this arena, because you really laid it out where they could start, all of the misconceptions and things that actually work. I mean, emailing you to death, some people would just not respond, but at the same time, other people in your position or in some of those productions positions, they say, this person is serious, let me look at them. So I really like the way that you presented it. And I must tell you people that she's a networker. She just came up to me at one of her films. I was there because I knew the writer and producer of the film. And we just met. She and her mother adopted me, and it was just this. And who would have known that you would have been here as a result of that warm greeting? You know, you just never know. So
that's how the network goes.
always have to be on their P's and Q's and look at everything, not bodaciously, but look at it as an opportunity, because you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, I think I like to think it. I said this to my mom actually very recently about one of my friends who was kind of asking me to do some work for her that she should be doing herself. I'll say that's in the nicest way I could say it. And I kind of pointed out to her that I was like, people are people. So the same way you would ask anybody for anything is how you should ask this person and not be so intimidated or so boggled by the concept of like networking, and focus more on like, who do I connect with genuinely? Who here is really like, yeah, we're on page, we get each other, which is kind of like what I said before. I've had many pitches, and sometimes the person gets it immediately and sometimes they do not. I don't stress myself on the people who don't, because they're not the person for the journey. They're just not the person for this idea. And I kind of look at friends the exact same way. I look at any event that I go to the exact same way, where hopefully I meet somebody that connects with me. But if I don't, all right, my energy just wasn't the space here. Like it just wasn't for it. And so I think that's how we met. My mom and I met Renee, was just being a person and talking to a person. So yeah.
Well, and to your point, you know, people are people. At the end of the day, no matter what their title is, and my mom always just said to me, you don't poo-poo on anybody. You know, you receive everybody, because we don't know when and how the Lord's coming, right?
Yeah.
And you could be missing your blessing because you're not being receptive. Yeah. And the other thing that I love that you said, see yourself bigger. I love that. I so love that, because I tell some clients, you can't say, well, I'm just a, well, you know, right there, I don't even want to talk to you. Yeah. You've already detracted from who you are and why are you approaching me? Because if you're just that, then I'm not the one. Because I'm very rigid when it comes to that kind of word, you know, your wordsmith. How do you use words and how do you present yourself? See yourself bigger. Yeah. Andrea, that is so magnificently wonderful for our audience to see themselves bigger and know that the community briefing is here to provide you with the support to see yourself bigger. So what you've shared today, as Renee said, what you've shared today about making sure that you have an attorney. You know, you don't have to put them on retainer, but you need to have one that you're connected to. Yes. Spending the time doing the marketing, but the part about the marketing is do your due diligence. You know, if you're going to a dinner, you've been invited as a guest, look up who's going to be there and have a little bit of information, because that's what's going to be the icebreaker for you. Absolutely. And then, you know, the idea of this IMDb Pro.
IMDb, Internet Movie Database.
IMDb Pro. You got it. Because again, there are free opportunities out there, just like with LinkedIn, but I pay for that premium account. So what you're saying is, if you're going to be serious about this, pay for the premium account, which will get with the algorithms work for you, and it's going to allow you to have a deeper dive. You've been quite informative. I've watched you on Degrassi. I didn't know I was going to get a chance to meet you. But tell us about growing up in Canada and then moving to the States.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I grew up as a child actor. But I also grew up in the suburbs of Toronto. And so like, I feel like I had a really oddly balanced life because the suburban living that I had, where I went to school with the same kids all the way to high school, elementary school, and just all the way up. And so, and I'd been acting the whole time. I met my best friend when I was on my first day of school, and I was already doing commercials at that time. So she knew me my whole life to be one thing, and everybody kind of did. So no one really treated me any differently. And my parents put my brother and I at the time, like they put us in everything. So it's like we were doing karate and we're doing music, we're doing swimming. And so everything had the same attention that acting did. Acting was not like, oh, this is the thing. Right. It was like, all of these things could be the thing. Which one of them, you know, whatever one that you're doing should be taken very seriously. And so I felt always very balanced. And I don't know how my parents managed to do it because, you know, I lived in the suburbs, but auditions would be downtown and they would often be at like 3 o'clock or like 4:30 or like these like really weird times. And somehow my parents were able to, I'm like, when I think back on it, I'm like, I have no idea, but like my dad may pick us up and we'd meet my mom at work and then she would take us, and, or maybe my brother and I would have to do a half day and we'd go, you know, stuff like that. But I was able to have that balance. The beautiful thing with Toronto is Toronto can look like any city. So in like the 90s and the early 2000s, people were filming there all the time and making it look like Chicago and like New York and like, you know, Seattle, like it looked like anything you wanted to look like. So when it came time for me to like want to pursue my career further, and I knew that, okay, I got to get to LA, I had a lot of credits to my name, but they were all shows that people got to see in the US. They were all stuff that people that was on NBC or on ABC or on these networks that were familiar. So Degrassi as well, though it was this Canadian show, it showed on Nickelodeon. And so everybody got to see it regardless. I always tell people, I'm like, this is, Degrassi is like very much a staple in Canada, but we did a mall tour in the US and it was like this big success. And then they were like, great, let's do it in Canada too. And all the stops we did in Canada were filled with fans from the US. So it's like, I went to Vancouver and I'm not kidding, 80% of the people there were from Seattle. So it was like a blessing for me that it was like, even though I was this Canadian actress, I had a lot of things for me that made my process of immigrating over to the US a little easier. So I was able to get a visa easier. I was already a part of the union in Canada for so long that I was able to just kind of directly become a part of SAG. And so these transitions were simpler for me versus the average Canadian actor, but still a challenge in the sense of, you know, you still have to have a visa, and or you got to get a green card, and there's these other positions to work that's not the same as my friends who moved from Boston to LA. And so, you know, those things were kind of challenges, but you kind of navigate through them because in my opinion, everybody has their own challenge. Some people move to LA with $2. Some people move there with 2,000. It's like, everybody has their thing to kind of move through. But yeah, I think just my upbringing, being a Toronto girl where I was in a city enough, but also grew up in the suburbs. A lot of my family lived in, my dad's side of the family lived in Rochester and lived in New York and lived in New Jersey. And my dad loved to drive. So nearly every other weekend we were like taking a long drive. So I always had like an affinity to the US, like just like a closeness. So when I moved, the transition felt like very smooth. And now I've lived in the US, in like a year, it'll be longer than I lived in Canada.
That's cool.
We have
a question from one of our audience participant, one of our constituents, and we're going to be shutting down in a few minutes. So go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Andrea. My name is Alex. I really enjoyed hearing from you. I watched Degrassi growing up, and I lived in St. Louis, so you were reaching the Midwest. And I loved it. I loved it. And it really means a lot to hear you talk and inspire young creatives. I would love to connect with you and ask you to come inspire more young creatives. I work for City Council member Nithya Raman. We cover Reseda, Sherman Oaks, Encino, Hills, Toluca Lake, Silver Lake. But I work closely with an all-Black Girl Scout group here in the Valley, in the San Fernando Valley. So I think you would be an amazing speaker, potentially moderator for our Black Business Mixer coming up in February.
Yes.
I
Oh my
want
goodness.
to add all of it on your plate at once, but I just want to let you know I would.
Well, please send me an email. Are you connected to either Steven or Renee? Are you connected to anybody in this?
I'm connected to Sarah. I have Sarah's email.
We'll make sure that happens for her.
Yeah, I would say send me an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to piggyback on that because I teach kids how to be entrepreneurs, and we're having a major competition in June. I think it's in late May, early June. 19 organizations from around the city. We have kids that's going to be participating for a business competition. So they're always looking for someone to speak for the.
Oh my God! Do you cry watching the kids? That would make me
girl,
cry.
I am so happy I am the instructor, so I don't have to choose, because I'd have a hard time making, and I always tell the judge, I go up and hug her and say, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And it's always the truth. But we have in our program for this summer, this spring, we always win. We always take at least first and second. And that's my opening statement to the kids. Just know what you got to be. So we got 45 kids in class this year. We meet live at one of the schools, and we do in hybrid. So they have all kinds of amazing businesses. So I would love to be able to pass you over to the organizers.
No, please do. I may be crying, but I will do it. I will absolutely, I will totally do it. Tears in eye. I like, what? I would love that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So
So a number of people here have been judges. Robin has come in and coached the kids. It's amazing to watch them come up with something. And then our youngest one 2 years ago was 9 years old. He was the most amazing little entrepreneur you've ever seen in your whole entire life.
I can't wait. Thank you. Thank you, both of you guys. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Crystal.
I have one comment. Andrea, could you tell them the name of that film where you are a doctoral intern? You're working as an intern and you're doing an investigation.
Oh, wait. What you mean that A Nashville Legacy on Hallmark?
Yeah. Watch that, everybody. Nashville Legacy. I couldn't.
A Nashville Legacy. It came out in February on Hallmark Mahogany, and it's Hallmark, so they replay everything a million times over and over. So you will get to see it.
Awesome.
Well, Andrea, know that this is your family and this is your platform. So come back. Make sure that we know what you're up to, so that we can help boost those ratings.
I will.
And then we can say that this is part of our village.
Yes, please. This has been so wonderful. The whole thing, from the back end to the front end, this whole thing has been so great. Thank you.
Awesome. And I grew up in Buffalo, so right outside.
There we go. That's your neighbors.
Right. I always say we went to Canada so many times, like going to Santa Monica.
Yeah, I would fly out of Buffalo. Like I had a season of my life, I would fly out of Buffalo regularly. I was like, that was my only airport option for some reason. And so, a lot of my best friends are from Detroit. And they always talk about that, like growing up, like there was a time you didn't even have to have a passport. You could just show.
Yeah, you just go across the border. You just drive over. What's your purpose over here? I'm going to the Niagara Falls. I'm going to Crystal Beach. In fact, that's probably how I got my name, was Crystal Beach. Because my mom went there so often.
Yeah, it was so easy. It's so easy. I'm like, Toronto is fortunate in that way, that if you're from Toronto, you're in a very close proximity. So the US feels far and close at the exact same time. So if you have bigger dreams that like this is the place where my industry is, I'm going to thrive in it, you're like, I can get there. I can do it. So
Well, we went there quite often. I've actually been to Toronto and Montreal, Vancouver, but when I was living on the East Coast, that was a regular. Anytime someone came to visit us from anywhere else, that's where we went. We went to
Yes,
Canada.
Absolutely. Why not? Quick little trip. That's a great idea.
And Toronto doesn't get the same amount of snow that Buffalo gets.
No.
Exactly.
Toronto will have 3-4 inches, and then Buffalo will have 20 inches of snow.
Right. We had more than Canada did. In fact,
easily.
Somebody was on my Facebook this week, and he was like, "Oh my God, I got to go to a meeting in Buffalo." I said, "You poor thing." And so of course it started to snow. He's like, "I got on leggings."
Yeah.
On Snuggies.
You need to. I'm like, you need to come with a shovel if you're going to Buffalo, no matter.
Yeah, you got to have a shovel. And
geographically, they're so close, but the weather pattern is just so different.
It's like, stop. Something happens. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. Alex, I will you put your phone number in there and I will text you my information, because yeah, we could do some cross thing with the kids. You know, I always wondered how, because Canada, and we're going to close up in a few minutes, but Canada obviously has a major production network, you know, almost big as Hollywood, because a lot of the shows I watch are out of Canada, and I do a whole lot of international TV watching. So you guys are comparable, or because it just seems like there's a lot of actors that come out of Canada?
I mean, it's tax incentives that usually get you to film in different places. And so, you know, Canada has great tax incentives, but at the exact same time, like I said, bringing up like what Renee was bringing, the film that I did with Hallmark, we filmed that in Birmingham, Alabama. And the story was based in Nashville, but we were filming in Birmingham. Birmingham also has great tax incentives, but you know, the same way Atlanta did at some point. And so it really depends on what you are making and like just how big it is and why certain things may benefit you. The only difference I would say when you're filming in Canada, you have to use 30% of Canadian talent on screen. So that means at least one of the lead roles has to be a Canadian. So that's where it benefits Canadian actors, because these big projects would come and at least you were going to have some good kind of part within it. And Vancouver, I know, is the same in terms of tax incentives, but Vancouver is like a very expensive city. But that's where like anything sci-fi films in Vancouver. And so, yeah, usually when people pick these places to film, it's kind of that same thing. But I say that from a producing side, because somebody may be like, oh yeah, film in Canada, there's a lot of tax incentives. You got to look into every single state, because a lot of states have tax incentives and want to bring the industry there. There's islands that have that as well. One of my producing partners was just in the British Virgin Islands. They're trying to boost their film industry there. And so they're trying to, you know, create more tax incentives for people to come there. So it really depends on what it is that you're making and why you should pick kind of the city that you want to pick and why certain things are easier. Even if you're a young filmmaker, you want to film in New York, you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff as long as you don't really like put, you know, like a tripod down, like sticks on the ground is what people say. You can kind of film literally anywhere. You could be 50 years old and just tell them you're a student, and the cops will just be like, all right, fine. And just kind of like
Ghost production, yeah, because NYPD doesn't care.
Like,
yeah.
It does not matter. And so that's why New York is like really great for that kind of backdrop. California is a little harder in that way for that kind of guerrilla shooting, but it's really, Canada had good tax incentives. We have really great crews. We have great production studios. We have great big studios as well. And so that was kind of the benefit when I was growing up for why a lot of things were filming there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to turn it over to Greg. You can come back here. Anything you need eyeballs on, you just reach out to the community briefing. We'll make sure everybody we know. I spent the whole first part of 5 years of my career, and I've been in business for over 30 years, building people and building a network. So friends of mine call me the people collector, which Love is it. Why there's all these people here. So
Love it.
I got lots of eyeballs, lots of kids. You need eyeballs, girl. I got eyeballs for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's about a community. I stress community. Community is the thing. If you need this stuff to work, you need community. So I love that. Yeah.
Greg, back to you.
Yes. So our next week we have our guest is Mr. Wow, it's December already. Yes. I'm thinking December 7th. That's like a couple of weeks away. So next week, our guest is JC Lacey. Stephen, it looks like you're available. Are you?
I think he left, but I think
he's there. He's there.
Okay.
Yes, we have JC Lacey, who's going to talk about community engagement and leadership. JC Lacey, former All-American at Stanford, former for Metro Transportation, and now president of Crenshaw Chamber of Commerce.
And Stephen, tell us a little about yourself and your business.
Stephen Turner, a man of few words.
he's the shy one. He's the shy one among all of us, because the rest of us are all vying. But Stephen is the quiet one behind the scenes.
Shy or sneaky? Which one is it?
Sneaky.
Well, Andrea, I used to work in the film business, and so you can thank the Los Angeles Film Commission for its increase in fees on production shooting that forced a lot of production to flee into Canada, into Toronto in the early '90s. So it's 30 years of production there, and now it's yielded a result. And look at you. There you go.
I don't know if Constance is still on the line, but Constance is a former model that used to be in the beauty business.
Oh, go ahead, Constance. I didn't know that about you.
She's shy today.
It wasn't something that should be broadcast. Thank you, Stephen. I was a teenager.
To the whole world.
And that's so crazy because Constance and I met we met back in the day. Let me put it that way. But literally our paths are the same. I was high school modeling from, 7th grade all the way through high school and college. Then we both met in banking, back in the 70s. So yeah. But again, though, Andrea, this has just been delightful, just delightful. Truly, truly.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's like it's made my Thursday. So
so you have all these. We're all fans. All your fans here at my.
You didn't say the week. You just made her day. Her Thursday.
Thursday. Just my day.
Just a day, right?
Just my day.
Maybe the hour, right?
But she's waiting on a signed contract. That's gonna make her a year. That's
I get your attorney.
Yeah, get my attorney.
Yeah, give your attorney a shout out. Who's your attorney?
Oh, my attorney is Marcy Cleary. She is in New York. She is the best
there you go.
Entertainment lawyer. She's always on some kind of entertainment lawyer list. And my friend describes her as the Beyonce of entertainment lawyers, and I would do the same.
Love it.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure she'll appreciate that shout out. There you go.
Okay. So when my nephew becomes big, he'll know where to go.
Oh yes, Marcy Cleary. She is amazing. She's amazing. So yeah.
Awesome. We have a couple of new visitors here. I think Alex was a new one. She's popped off. Daniel, welcome to the family. Please come back. Go tell everybody that the community briefing at 11 o'clock on Thursday is the place to be. You have no idea who you may meet here. But
Pamela has her hand up. Pamela, quickly. You got to get off of mute, baby.
She's my relative.
Okay, come on, relative.
Can't get off.
Well, while she's trying to get off her relative, another your relative is having a birthday today. So tell Danny Tabor, happy birthday from the community briefing.
Andrea,
I'll tell him.
Could you tell us again the name of the Christmas movie and the station that we're
it's called Christmas Revisited, and it's on OWN. That's the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Thank you.
And it's December 23rd. But I will say, I'll just shout it out in general. They have Christmas movies every Saturday starting in December. They are all featuring Black casts and I think all Black writers even, but I know mine is a Black writer. But December 23rd, Christmas Revisited. So yeah.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, wow, guys, this has been a wonderful treat. Greg, you want to wrap it up for us?
I thought we did. Okay. Put a bow on it, right? So thank you for joining us today's community briefing. Thank you, Andrea Lewis, for your wonderful comments and sharing a lot about all the productions and things that you're doing and the even bigger and greater things to come.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
And come back to join us anytime. We're here.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care now. Holiday blessings.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Stop the recording. There you go.